Hey everybody, Karen from Five Spokes Fitness here for episode 3 of How I Built This Ride. This week or this month, we are looking at the profile called Crazy Eights. If you're already signed up to receive all our latest content, you would have received this on January 18th. So last week. If you're not signed up, don't worry about it. Just go out to fivespokesfitness.com and look for Crazy Eights under profiles. It also has Spotify playlist. You will be all set. So let's dive into the 6 building blocks of creating a awesome profile. Number 1, starting with inspiration, right? All rides start with an idea and inspiration for the ride. My inspiration was seeing this picture right here on an indoor cycling site. It really caught my eye. I messaged the instructor and asked her if I could use it. She said yes, and let her know that I share with a lot of people. So she was very gracious. And so the inspiration was seeing this and really being intrigued. So number 2, goal. What's the goal of your ride, right? Your profile should always support the goals that you have for your riders. When I saw this to me screamed visual motivation. So I had 2 goals. The goal for my riders was to really explore their own motivation as the ride progressed. Right? So is your motivation at the beginning of the ride the same as in the middle or the end? Like to really explore that and make note. My goal as the instructor was to take this Crazy Eights and, as we say at Five Spokes, make it my own. And what do we mean by that? It's really 3 things. When you use another instructor's profile, you want to make sure that it aligns with your certification, your riders, and your own personal style. So make it your own. The other thing we're going to hit on in this video is similar tweaks where you take your own profiles and reuse them, because as we all know, reusing profiles is a huge time saver, but we don't have to use it exactly how it is. And we'll hit on that. Number 3, what's the name of your ride, the title of your ride? Remember, your title is your playbill. It gives some insight to your riders of what to expect. And I feel that this instructor absolutely nailed it. Crazy Eights, right? It jives exactly with what the vibe of the ride is, which is it's challenging and it's fun, right? Because in cycling, crazy to me means, it's going to be challenging, and this is a challenging ride. So number 5, let's jump into the meat, into the structure here. The original Crazy Eights, she selected 8 moves. Each move is 1 minute. So each block of challenges starts with its 8 minutes. She has a 2-minute recovery after that 8 minutes. Then the next block is she crosses out, which I love this idea, literally physically crosses out, gets up on that mirror and would cross out the jumps. So the next set is 7 moves, 7 minutes, 2-minute recovery before the 6th. So you get the idea. So I looked at this and said, okay, well, how will I make this my own? I asked myself 5 questions. Did I want to use the same moves? Did I want to use them in the same order? Would the timing for this ride work for my class length? And actually it didn't, but I asked my riders if they were good with going longer, because I just thought it was such a great idea. And they were like, yes. Is there enough recovery time built in, right? Big question. If you've been with us for a couple years at Five Spokes, recovery time. You really want to understand that work to rest ratio. And would I keep the music as it is? Would I just swap out a few songs, or would I just do an entirely new playlist? So these are the questions to make it your own. They also come in handy if you are going to reuse one of your profiles. You can look at your profile, right? And ask yourself pretty much these same exact questions Probably except for would the timing work for your class length? Because my assumption is yes, it would. So let's go to number 6. Well, actually, before we do that, here is how I made it my own. Here's the result. So you see the original Crazy Eights there. And what I did was basically made 3 decisions. I changed the order and swapped some of the moves, and I'll tell you why in a second. I built in more recovery time, and I decided to create a new playlist. So what was kind of the thinking behind what I changed and why I changed it? On this ride, remember, whatever you start with, and in the original, it starts with a sprint. That's what you're going to end with. So that sprint is going to be, you're going to do 8 sets of sprints in here. I love the idea of ending on a sprint, but not starting with a sprint. So I did, I put that as number 5. And I also combined surges and sprints, meaning I didn't actually combine them. I didn't use all sprints. I used, in that first set, a surge, right? Because I really like the riders to be warmed up, ready, if I'm going to be using sprints. Because remember, you know how seriously we take them. Sprints are max effort. Also on the original, this instructor taught, bless her heart, on New Year's Day. And so she is doing 2 22-second sprints, with the idea being it's 2022 within 1 minute. For me, that doesn't really align with the 1-to-3 work ratio, right? If you're doing, I also don't do sprints more than 10 to 15 seconds. So that was a change that I made. Overall, though, I kept the structure and absolute spirit of her ride, and swapped in flat road, some fast flats. I loved her idea of the single pedal stroke, right? So she was doing 30 seconds, focus on the left leg, 30 seconds, focus on the right leg. I believe that's how she did that. I love that idea, and I will use that for another playlist. The last thing I'll say is, I also added in a flat road, and that would be, that's coached at a sort of hard intensity. I wanted to build in additional time after a sprint or a surge. So I thought where riders would feel comfortable modifying. So that was the thinking behind that. So that's that. Now we can go to number 6, which is music. And let's talk about the playlist. So it's a Spotify playlist. If you follow me, I do my profiles in Word doc, and you can download them, use them as is, put them into your, any kind of app that you're using to teach, if you're using apps. But quickly, every song in your playlist needs to support what you're asking your riders to do. And the song selection play a different role depending on where you are in your profile, beginning, middle, or end. So just quickly, as always, your warm-up song, you want something that sets the vibe for your ride, but doesn't compete with you as the instructor, for conveying to your riders what they're going to do, what they can expect. And then bam, that kickoff song, clear signal, game on. First challenge is happening. I used Getaway, song 3 there. That is a great song for sprints or surges, right? Because when you have a sprint or a surge, you really want to try to use music that builds so that your riders just start to anticipate as you coach them physically, mentally, get ready. So then when it's like 3, 2, 1, go, the music is right with you. If you attended our Using Music Masterfully workshop, then I would have just went into my sprint music folder and had a list of songs that I could just pick out and use for this profile. All right, supporting player. If we drop down to song 11, what's the supporting player? That's the song before your last song. And generally I like to use that so that it has good energy. It's a really, it doesn't compete with that last song. It gets riders almost ready for that last challenge, so that when your last song comes on, which you want it to be your bring it song, right? That it's a clear differentiation between the two songs. And then, as always, your cool down song, you want that to be clear. Hey, it's done. You made it. We have crossed the finish line. It is time to downshift. So that is the profile. And then the last thing I will share, this is modifying your rides by giving alternatives, right? So you can do this with your coaching. I know many of you know this, you already do it, but sometimes we forget. And our riders really trust us and they listen to us. So when you're genuine about your modifications and they believe you, like, yeah, it really is okay not to do that standing climb or not to do that fast flat as fast as everyone else, they will tend to listen to their bodies more. So just a couple of quick coaching tips, especially for like a ride like Crazy Eights, because let me tell you, I've rode this 3 times and it's a hard ride. It's very cool. I ended up using a flip chart and then just, hopping off the bike after each challenge and crossing it out. I'm a list person, so it was highly motivating for me. And the riders loved it. So quickly, coaching tips, stay seated for any of the out of saddle movements. And what that often sounds like when I'm coaching that, I'll say, okay, in 10 seconds, we're coming out of the saddle, hand position 3. We're going to add resistance, make sure we're ready. You have the option to stay seated and just add a little resistance there. 3, 2, 1, make your decision, go. Sit out one of the moves and recover. So for the Crazy 8 ride, how that might sound is after we're coming out of the recovery in 15 seconds, we're going to add resistance, come out to hand position 3, start the next set. If you want more recovery time, listen to your body, take it, join us when you're ready, something like that. Ride a seated climb at a lower intensity. I tend to be very strategic about flat roads and seated climbs because that is where riders, at least in my experience, tend to feel most comfortable, kind of like maybe not riding at the intensity that you are putting out there for them. And one of the obvious reasons is because they're seated already. And it's very different to ride at a lower intensity. Nobody notices, right? But if you're all out of the saddle and somebody isn't, that's more visible. So, just remember that when you're creating your profiles or modifying your profiles. Modify speed for any of the fast flats or, higher RPM segments, and always offer a surge instead of a sprint, because if someone is not ready for max effort, they should not be attempting it, right? So anyway, they're my tips. And so I hope that you join me next month for the next How I Built This Ride. In the meantime, go out to 5 Spokes Fitness. There's a lot out there. We also have 3 workshops now that are available on demand. So check those out. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is where these videos sit. So anyway, if you don't see what you're looking for, please go ahead, email me. As I always say, your feedback is my inspiration. I just really love hearing from you guys. So hopefully this helped. And as always, stay awesome.